I was very satisfied and pleased with the question the judge asked, in particular about the statement that Mr. Bertolino made on behalf of the Laundrie family, because that says a lot. The fact that they knew she was deceased, they knew where her body was located, and they had the audacity to express a hope that she would be reunited with her family.
Johnny Depp just got found civilly liable for defamation by what his attorney said.
Hello, welcome to Trauma on True Crime. Thank you for clicking on this video. Please hit the subscribe button, the like button, the notification bell so you know when I'm uploading my next video. Today I'm reacting to a hearing that took place earlier today in the Petito versus Laundrie case. Now, this is a case. It is a civil case where the parents of Gabby Petito, who was murdered by Brian Laundrie last year, is suing the parents of Brian Laundrie for intentional infliction of emotional distress. It's a really interesting case because, again, it's a civil case. It's not a criminal case. And it's all about whether or not the Laundries had a duty to reveal what they knew, and also if they have a constitutional right to remain silent. Well, what's really interesting to me is the arguments that are being put forward. But I want to reiterate here, I want to say with a lot of fanfare that I am not a lawyer. This case is very, very close to my heart. I started covering it with another true crime YouTuber whose channel doesn't exist anymore, but we started covering it from the moment Gabby went missing and went live every single day, and sometimes a few times a day until she was found, and then while the search for Brian Laundrie was going. So it's really near and dear to my heart. For those of you who didn't follow the case when it was happening, I'm going to walk you through a timeline right now and explain to you through the timeline why this case is being brought by Gabby Petito's parents against the Laundrie parents, and then just give you my thoughts and impressions. Let me walk you through this timeline, and then we'll get you to some clips from the actual hearing today, and then I'll end on the other side. So here's the timeline. On July 2nd, 2021, Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie left for New York for an extended van life trip, and that was when they launched their blog and their video and their YouTube channel and started posting things, because Gabby had a dream of building up a big YouTube channel. In fact, she actually had a goal of getting to 1 million subscribers. So then on August 12th, 2021, Gabby and Brian were pulled over by Moab Police Department for a DV incident. And this is an entire story in and of itself, because in that situation, and we've seen all the body cam footage, police named Gabby the primary aggressor in this situation and put Brian up in a nearby hotel for the night. And it's all because he was able to manipulate the police into believing that he was the victim and she was the aggressor. And you know why? It's because she was in one of those abusive relationships where she started to believe that all the stuff that Brian was telling her about herself was correct. So she immediately started to take the blame when the cops pulled them over for this DV incident. But it turns out that it really was Brian being the primary aggressor, obviously. So then on August 17, 2021, Brian flew home to Florida, left Gabby in a hotel, and then came back and reunited with Gabby in Utah on August 23rd. And then on or about August 27, 2021, Brian murders Gabby in Wyoming and leaves her body, not buried, just laying there in a grove of trees. On August 8th, 2021, Brian actually calls his parents, and immediately the parents hire a lawyer from New York. They were in Florida, okay? On September 1st, 2021, Brian returns home to Florida in Gabby's van without her. All right? From September 1st, 2021 to around the 10th of 2021, Gabby's parents were frantically attempting to contact the Laundrie family about Gabby's whereabouts. They knew by now that Brian had come home without her in her van. And the Laundries, what did they do? They blocked all the calls and messages and then referred them to their new lawyer. During that time that the Petitos are freaking out, trying to find their daughter, doing everything in their power to try to find her, what do the Laundries do? They go camping with Brian. Whole family, the sister and her kids. Yeah, they all went camping. Then on September 11, 2021, Gabby is declared missing. Her mother called the police in New York, and she was reported missing from there because that's where she was originally from. On September 13th, 2021, Brian goes missing. And you know what? You know how that happened? He literally slipped under the radar of the cops. The cops had come out and said, we know exactly where Brian is. We know exactly where Brian is. We know. But no, he escaped. He escaped right from under their noses. So on the 14th, this is a big point of contention in the case, in this case that the Petitos brought against the Laundries. The Laundrie lawyer issues a statement on behalf of the family. I'll read that in the next slide. Then Brian is named a person of interest on the 15th. On September 19th, Gabby's body was found in Wyoming, and the coroner ruled her death a homicide almost immediately. On October 12th, the coroner announced that strangulation was the cause of death for Gabby. So it was almost certain, not beyond a shadow of a doubt, but it was almost certain that Brian had done it. Then on October 19th, 2021, Brian's remains were found in Florida's Carlton Reserve, and his death was ruled a suicide pretty quickly thereafter. And on February 21st, 2022, the FBI announced that they're closing the case because Brian claimed responsibility for Gabby's death in a notebook that was found near his remains. Here's the statement that the lawyer put out on the 14th. Now remember where this is in the timeline. Brian goes missing. They go camping. Gabby's declared missing. Brian goes missing. And remember, based on the declarations in the complaint by the Petitos, the Laundries knew everything by the time this lawyer puts out this statement. And it says, "This is understandably an extremely difficult time for both the Petito family and the Laundrie family. It is our understanding that a search has been organized for Miss Petito in or near Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. On behalf of the Laundrie family, it is our hope that the search for Miss Petito is successful and that Miss Petito is reunited with her family." They knew that she would never be reunited with her family. Next, I'm going to show you some clips from the hearing today. Remember, it is a motion to dismiss, so all facts in the case are assumed to be true, and they're just arguing whether or not it should go forward. And I just found the arguments to be very interesting. Let's start off.
Rather, plaintiffs argue that the Laundries had an obligation, a duty to speak. The law imposes no such obligation to speak, and the state and federal constitutions support that. In our society, under our laws, people are free not to speak. So the standard for determining whether or not conduct is outrageous is that the behavior claimed to constitute the intentional infliction of emotional distress must be so outrageous in character and so extreme in degree as to go beyond all possible bounds of decency.
I fully understand and get the constitutional right to remain silent.
So here's the crux of the issue, okay? As I said before, this is a civil lawsuit. This is not a criminal case. So what this attorney is arguing here is that the case should just be dismissed.
That being said, we're on a motion to dismiss on a complaint where I have to assume the facts are true. And you're trying to get me to say that the complaint itself demonstrates the existence of a right to remain silent. And I'm trying to understand how that is, or is that more of an affirmative defense that should be fleshed out in the pleading?
Alleges that Brian.
So basically what the judge is asking is there the right to remain silent is applicable in a criminal case when there is criminal conduct. They're threading this needle. This is what it looks like to me, is that they're threading this needle where constitutionally, if you are being accused of criminal behavior, you have the right to remain silent. And that protects you from any government intervention. This is a civil case. It's not a criminal case. So the judge is asking this lawyer to argue what is the criminal conduct that warrants the right to silence. And it's threading this really weird needle. So this defense attorney needs to argue that his clients are being alleged for criminal behavior without incriminating himself. And the Petito Schmidt lawyer needs to argue that, and it seems counterintuitive, but needs to argue that there was no criminal conduct alleged, just that there was the outrageous course of conduct. But it apparently wasn't outrageous enough to meet the criminal standard. So it's this weird counterintuitive, and that's why I'm not a lawyer, is because I could never stand up there and figure out how to make these arguments, but also keep my client from being prosecuted criminally by something I say.
That Brian Laundrie murdered Miss Petito. It alleges that Brian Laundrie engaged in...
See how the parents look at each other there? So what you're looking at here is, this is Nicole Schmidt, that is Gabby's mother. This is Joe Petito, that is Gabby's father. But they're divorced. They've been divorced since Gabby was 2 years old. This here is Gabby's stepfather, that's Nicole's husband. And this woman sitting right here, right behind the lawyer, is his wife. And all of these parents have been deeply involved in this situation from the beginning. And it was her stepfather who actually went and identified her remains when they were found. So let's keep going.
Conduct to try
Look
to...
how, so he's saying, he just said, they allege in the complaint that Brian Laundrie murdered Gabby Petito, and the parents look at each other like, allege? I mean, I just took you through the timeline. Brian Laundrie admitted in his own notebook that was found by the FBI that he did it. So I could see the parents sitting here going, alleged? Wait, let's see if we could go back to it.
Brian Laundrie murdered Miss Petito. It alleges that Brian Laundrie engaged in conduct to try to cover that up by sending text messages and things like that. It alleges that the defendants, his parents, the Laundries, were trying to help him escape the country. Importantly, the court noted that obviously if the mother had witnessed all of those terrible things that happened to the child, that might be one thing. But the court noted that the physically injured party should be directly involved in the event.
So right here, the lawyer is arguing case law. He's talking about other cases that hold a precedent. That's a big thing in the court of law. And so he's arguing, he's using some case law to argue for his case. And he's talking about a completely different case, but he says something that obviously, would offend me too if I were the Petitos.
The court noted that the physically injured party should be directly involved in the event causing the original injury.
So the argument I love Nicole Schmidt's face right there. The argument that he's making is that in order for there to be enough distress, that the injured party had to have physically been there and seen it happen. I'm not a lawyer, but that just common sense wise, I think we need to update our ideas about how whether harm can be done from afar when you've never met somebody. I think we're finding in some cases on social media that that's not necessarily the case, especially in a civil suit.
If such a person sees it, hears it, or arrives on the scene while the injured party is still there, then that person is likely involved. And then they go on to say, here, appellant did not allege that she saw the mutilated body of the court. Your Honor, this...
So here's the lawyer for the Petitos, and I just want to say here, I took a liking to this guy because he appears to me to know what he's doing. He exerts a bit of a humility, but also confidence. And to me, it seems that he's cares a lot about this case. So I'll keep going and show you what I mean.
This is not simply about the silence of Christopher and Roberta Laundrie, who knew that their son had brutally murdered Gabby Petito. It's not simply about their callous refusal, despite pleas from the Petito family, to speak up about whether or not Gabby was alive and if she wasn't, where her body was located. It's about a course of conduct that they committed from the moment they learned on August 28th of 2021 that their son had brutally murdered Gabby Petito up until the time that her body was found.
What duty did the Laundries have to do anything?
So this is a legitimate and difficult question to answer, obviously in the law as well, is what duty did the Laundries have to report what they allegedly knew to the Petitos? And what this lawyer argues is that it was that they were obligated not to mislead, not to lie, not to continue sending the Petitos off on a wild goose chase when they know for a fact that Gabby is dead and there's no way to find her unless, some miracle happens. And luckily the miracle of Red, White, and Bethune came by and saw and filmed the truck, and boom. Let's keep listening to the lawyer.
That's a fair question, Your Honor, and I've struggled with the answer to that particular question. And they knew, starting on August 28th of 2021, that Gabby was dead. They knew where Gabby's body was. They knew that the Petito family was desperately searching for information.
It kills me there to see Gabby's mom having to relive all of this. Look at her face here. Look at her face.
Information. But they did things affirmatively. They didn't just remain silent. Brian Laundrie came home.
By the way, she's wearing a locket of Gabby's ashes on her necklace.
In Gabby Petito's van by himself to his family's home. That family, knowing that Gabby was dead, knowing their son had murdered her, knowing where the body was, and in particular, knowing that Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt were desperate to learn where their daughter was located, they went on vacation. And what that attorney said in particular is telling. So there's no question that he represented, that he was making that statement on behalf of the Laundries, because he says, it is our understanding that a search has been organized for Miss Petito in or near Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming on behalf of the Laundrie family. It is our hope that the search for Miss Petito is successful and that Miss Petito is reunited with her family. That statement was issued with the full knowledge and consent of the Laundries, with the full knowledge on the part of the Laundries that Gabby was not alive and that Gabby's body was located somewhere out west. And instead, they make a statement saying, we hope you find her. We hope you're reunited, giving them false hope that perhaps their daughter is still alive. If that's not outrageous, Your Honor, I don't know what is outrageous.
We hope this...
I just felt like that was a really smooth argument. Whether it's going to work in the law, I don't know.
Successful. How is that in itself outrageous?
It's a lie. It's said with knowledge that there's no hope of finding her alive because she's dead. It's said with an intention to give false hope to a family that their daughter may be alive. That's outrageous. By the way, the only reason that Mr. Bertolino is not a defendant in this action is because he's not a citizen of the state of Florida.
Right. I just want to implore anybody, if you see a YouTube creator giving legal commentary, make sure they have legal credentials. I'm not giving legal commentary. I'm just reporting on this and giving my opinion, knowing that I'm not a lawyer, knowing that I don't know all the contours, especially in Florida. Here's what struck me about this whole thing, that the Laundries want to argue that they have a right to remain silent, but they didn't. They didn't remain silent. And further, they intentionally misled not only the frantic Petitos, but the entire public, who by this time was watching very, very closely. Let me tell you, it was a nationwide case. And one of the reasons it was nationwide is because it spanned multiple states in the US, and also because there was a big social media element to it, because they had posted this beautiful, footage of their van life, and now we're seeing completely different body cam footage of this DV incident, and they look completely different than they do in their social media. And then a couple weeks later or a week later, she's dead. And he returns home. He drives from Wyoming to Florida, ends up without her, and everybody's like, where is she? It was just, immediately it became a case with a great deal of interest. And honestly, I can see why. This young girl was beautiful. She had her entire life ahead of her, extremely creative, seemed to be just a good-hearted person. And she's a reminder to all of us that it can happen to any of us. So, this case gets me in my feels. I'm very, very biased in this situation, and I want to see the Petitos prevail, because I personally believe it was absolutely outrageous for this family to have this knowledge, say something completely misleading, and now try to claim that they have a Fifth Amendment right to protection. They haven't committed a crime. So I think it'll be really, really interesting to watch. I will be watching it very closely. I will keep you updated on anything that I find very relevant to bring to you. Thanks for watching. Please remember, you never know what somebody's going through in their private lives, so please be kind to everyone, everywhere, and peace.